DBS is, but I mean, the whole site is being managed
By LADBS.
by GSD and BOE currently with the
No.
construction.
No, that's not who is in control of the job site. LADBS is the one that attempted to issue permits. They're the ones that are attempting to be allowed to authorize anything to be built. Unfortunately, it falls under the guidelines of Division of State Architecture. Verify, so I have had this in since the 8th of November.
Okay.
And Ryan is very well aware that what I've presented needs to be referred out to the state because they're not authorized to be issuing any permits, saying anything's habitable. They can't even do the foundation. So the reason I know this is because I actually do a lot of state jobs. And they're all unique structures, and unfortunately, you fall out into the wrong people who issued permits that are worthless.
I mean, that's just not true for this site, though.
It's absolutely true. What do you think that this site is? It's a state essential services facility that has housing involved in it. I do these projects. LADBS, Metro, they have no experience with these projects. That's the funny thing about it. I'm the one that did the one over in Santa Monica as well. So they very well know about me and that I know what DSA is. So I do have that. It is a standing order that they've tried to hide and ignore, and they know that it needs to go out for referral. So nothing is going to get final permits till that gets approved. That's going to happen for sure. I've already talked to the state about that. And even more interesting is, even though you guys tried to use AB 109 or AB 1197 to get across the EPA stuff, don't matter. The way that I have these written up, I have the ground tanks, I have the maps for the ground tanks, I have the maps for the lubrication pits. So it's going to be a fun one. You guys want a copy of this?
I mean, I'll take any information.
Sure.
I just want to clarify, though, the purpose of this meeting tonight is to speak with the site operators about
Right.
how the site's going to be.
I understand, but you understand the site, they think it's going to open because LADBS has led you to believe you have permitting for occupancy. No, you don't. I know, it's kind of shocking.
No, that's just not true, though.
How do you figure?
Right.
No, and correct. But guess what? The people that think that they're going to be able to issue that, LADBS, have zero authority on the job site. DSA does. DSA is a state agency. DSA, their code is 100% different than LADBS. I know this because I almost lost $2 million job site at Orange County Sheriff's Facility. So being that this is an essential services facility, that this is a campus, and that it includes housing on it, it was a nice try for John Matillo and Bruce Todd to help you out, but it's a wrap. Like I said, they have it tagged. They know I have it tagged. So I do appreciate your guys' meeting. That's why I came to let you know that while everybody thinks that this is a super go, you guys have gotten permitting from the wrong entity entirely. And what happened to me in Orange County because of DSA is almost ate $2 million on the $200,000 job. Because I'm the one that the job landed on and was holding it up for compliance. We're talking 3 inches over 8 feet on a sculptural installation that normally I put bolts in the ground and I'm straight with LADBS code. Oh no, it incurred us almost like $190,000 just to get up to code to pass. And that's because we didn't have it in the ground and think that we were already able to do the foundation work that's been done. So I have that for you guys, and I have site maps, like I said, where you guys think that there's nothing and everybody's been doing work. Super all bad. We have the tanks that are in the ground that are continuing to exasperate. You guys do not have coverage to cause further exasperation of a standing hazard, okay? That's at groundwater level. Y'all are tripping. You have the lubrication pits that I have site mapped that are not where you think they were. I have also the bus wash. So you guys may have thought we were going to skip by everything because we got EPA covered, but you went to the wrong authority to get permits. I know you think I'm wrong, but
also this whole conversation is...
It's been ignored for months, and I've been, no, it's been, like I said, I have it proven that LADBS knew about this before they dared. stick any of that concrete in the ground, and they brought all that stuff real quick.
So, but this is a complete derailment of what the purpose of this.
No, it's
meeting is.
not.
So
It's
the-
absolutely letting you guys know just to make sure before you think that you're opening this.
No, and I appreciate.
I'm letting you guys know that you guys think that you'll be able to get occupancy. You're kind of mistaken about that. So it's not a derailment of anything. There was no other conversation going. By all means, any other conversation can go on, and I will gladly listen to it. But I was just letting you guys know that while we think John Matillo and Bruce Todd and Jason can go ahead and stamp everything, you guys are incurring a gang loaded liability. And literally no humans are going to be able to habitate anything that's on that ground right now. That's why I came, and you guys should know about that.
Take a copy so we can provide it to the city, since we're not actually the builder.
Oh, this is
We're not.
well, and that's what's even funny about it. So that we decided that Metro was going to do owner builder. Guess what? DSA does not allow owner builder. So AB 1197 is super compromised by the fact that everybody went to rush for the finish line, and we knew about EPA. We just didn't know who the authority on the job sites were going to be. And so, yeah, it's going to be expensive.
Okay. Let's have a conversation about that.
No problem.
Outside of this, but
No
if
problem.
those copies are for me, I'm glad to take those. Or if you want.
For sure. If you want to have copies, I'll give you copies.
Yeah, if you want to give me the copies, then I can go over
Here's-
this, and
here's,
we can talk about this
For
outside
sure.
of this meeting.
For sure. Here's the actual order number.
Okay.
So there's that one for the actual order being in. Do you guys want the site map of
And
the
these
issues?
These are the orders that you put in for your.
No, these aren't only me. What was funny is that I made sure to show local landowners actually how this system operates, because everybody was ignorant of it. LADBS has gone ahead and tried to remove you from being able to even view this anymore. It don't matter. They made a mistake and gave me access to all the historic records.
Is that a copy that I could take as well?
Sure, here,
have
just so
them
you know,
and
this
I can
is,
look over this
well,
and
so
make sure
what you understand what these are. Okay, so this one,
Well, how about this? Can we talk at the end of this? 'Cause I
All right,
do wanna
yeah,
get
for sure,
this
for sure,
started.
for
But
sure.
I appreciate you for bringing this.
here, do you want that? Well, there's different sections is the thing. There's 3 copies. So here, I'll do this one afterwards.
Okay,
Let me
yeah.
do the
Let's touch
site
base.
maps afterwards. We'll
Sure.
keep you with the other
Sure.
thing
But we'll
and then the
focus-
site maps.
We'll have our meeting on.
Absolutely.
we'll focus on- Thank you.
No problem.
Back some water, please have at it. Also, if you haven't signed in, if you don't mind, just I'm gonna pass this around. Just looking for your initials, double check that your email address is correct for us. And yeah. Anyway, I've met most of you before, and we actually now, I think we've ended up like one representative from a service provider to a person in the neighborhood. That's kind of seems how this count has worked out for this evening. But let me just kind of kick this off. My name is Allison Wilhite, for those who I haven't met before. My role specifically is to focus on the Bridge Home here in Venice, around our community engagement and outreach efforts, as well as our partnerships in the program that we're going to have on site once it opens. And so as part of that, we wanted to make sure that neighbors in the area had a chance to have these conversations about the Bridge Home, what to expect with it. Construction started back in July, and perhaps you've seen just this past week is when the tents started to go off and the trailers are in place. So we're very excited to see it moving forward, and we wanted to make sure that people had a chance to ask questions about where we're at with it, as well as to learn more about what will the day-to-day operations of the Bridge Home be. And that's the intent of these meetings. That's why we have representatives from the 2 service providers that will be on site. Those will be our site operators, PATH and SPY. In a moment, I'll have them introduce themselves. So they're here to be able to answer those questions about what that day-to-day will be like, as well as we can speak more to what to anticipate once it gets open. Just a little bit of background for those who aren't already familiar with the Bridge Home project in general. The Bridge Home is an initiative that the mayor and the city council went forward with back in April 2018 when they made their announcement about emergency shelter. And that was seen as the need for shelter is just so necessary for the city as we're trying to face this homelessness crisis. So while we're working towards, being able to provide sufficient housing for the number of people who are unhoused on our streets, we need something in the interim, and that is the emphasis behind the Bridge Home. And with the Bridge Home program, we currently have about 9, maybe 10 that are open across the city, and we anticipate that by July 2020, there will be 26 Bridge Home sites that are open. And that's because every city council has agreed to have at least one of them, so that we can meet this need that we have. with the Bridge Home that's coming in Venice, we're anticipating that it'll be open in early 2020, hopefully by the end of February. As you've seen, it's currently under construction, so this has just been part of it, as we're working towards getting it open as soon as possible so that we can respond to this need that we have in Venice as soon as possible as well. So with that as a little bit of an intro, let me go around and just introduce some of the key service providers and other people we've invited to be here tonight to be able to answer your questions and to engage with PATH and SPI. One, because PATH has been working with other bridge homes in the city, as well as SPI has been such an institution here in Venice working with the transitional age youth. This is important, so we'll have 154 beds on site, 100 that are for adults and 54 that are for youth. So Jennifer, would you mind first giving a little introduction of yourself and then what PATH's role is?
Sure. So my name is Jennifer Harkeith. I'm the Deputy CEO and Executive Director of PATH. We're a statewide organization, but we're really focused here in Los Angeles, and we operate currently 3 bridge home sites, 2 in Hollywood and another one kind of in mid-city LA. So our role will be kind of the lead operator. We'll be managing all of the security on site, the case management for the 100 beds, the food and nutrition, and then partnering with SPI on the youth programming and youth case management. So grateful to be here. Thank you all for being here on a Monday night.
And Alex mentioned my explaining SPI.
Yeah, so welcome to SPI. This is our Access Center space, and we are delighted to be partnering with PATH, and even more delighted to be able to offer 54 youth for the first time ever on the West Side some housing opportunities. So we're really, really excited to be able to do that. We see the 54-bed Bridge project as an extension of what we're doing here, another additional way that our young people can stabilize while they work towards more of a stable housing opportunity. And we see it neatly fitting in with all of the other services that we have going on here, which are education and employment, counselling, wellness services. So we're just really delighted. Earlier this year we launched a 20-bed transitional housing program on the West Side, the first of its kind. So we're delighted to see that it's full and young people are doing really well and thriving and connected to more long-term housing already and employment. So some of the youth that are actually in the transitional housing project are working at SPI or at other different locations. So no, we're excited to be partnering with PATH and the city, and I think it's going to transform the experience for young people who unfortunately find themselves unhoused on the West Side, so well, specifically in Venice.
We also have Rachel here with SPI.
I'm the Deputy Director here at SPI. Thank you all for being here.
Great. We're also joined tonight not just by PATH and SPI, but we have representatives from LASA as well as St. Joseph Center, and they can speak a little bit also to the outreach that's been happening around Venice in order to identify the clients that will be brought on site. Jose, would you mind just giving a quick introduction?
Yeah, hi everybody. Thank you for having us, Allison, and thank you for putting on this space. I'm one of the outreach coordinators on the macro side with LASA, so I work with about half the county, and I oversee from the macro side the organizing and coordination for the Bridge Home project. So I've been lucky enough to work in Hollywood, work in about 5 of the former projects, as well as 2 of which we just opened in South Central, 1 2 weeks ago, and I think it's an awesome initiative by the mayor's office and something really that has addressed the deficit of crisis housing for people who need it. Ultimately, I do think that the project has taken people who were experiencing homelessness on the street and given them a place to live in, and hopefully, if everything goes according to plan, we'll get them to their ultimate goal, which is housing.
Hi everyone, my name is Drew Vicente. I'm the outreach coordinator with St. Joseph Center, and I'm the local outreach coordinator, and I work alongside the teams that are out there outreaching to individuals in the street.
Okay, thanks. So just to kind of give a little bit of direction for this tonight. This is your space to be able to ask questions, engage in this conversation around the Bridge Home. We have this space tonight until about 8 p.m. So as many questions as you have, we're here until then to answer them. I think it might be beneficial if we could just do a quick round and everybody else just share their name and perhaps maybe what motivates you to come out, but we'll keep it snappy and quick. Do you want to get us started?
Yeah, I'm Michael, and I live across the street from
Great.
Bridge Housing, so obviously I have questions and concerns about what's going to happen.
Hi, I'm Mary. I live 7 steps from it.
I'm Travis, I live across the street.
Sally, I live across the street.
I'm Marianne. I'm with the council member's office.
I wasn't going to put her on the spot to answer questions. She's here though.
Here, listening. My name's Lisa, and I live in Venice, and I live in the Venice Capital Building.
My name is Aaron Fanning. I'm actually an ongoing victim of patient dumping by St. Joseph's. I've been involved with PATH before, have super security issues with you guys, and drug use problems. And also, I'm currently living in Venice Community Housing's fortified encampment, you know, the one that someone just got pulled out on the 30th with a gunshot. So, yeah, I got questions.
I'm Sandy, and I live on Sunset Avenue, just down from the site, so I'm concerned about what goes on around the site.
Okay. Thanks for being here, Sandy.
Security and, you know, what's tolerated around the site.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to just get started with here, there? Okay.
It's a great question.
Yep.
Yeah. Can we get this a little, can you firm up, what is the
I
question?
didn't hear you.
So, I mean, let's launch into it. I mean, I'm here to help facilitate with questions and responses. So can you explain, are you concerned more about, I mean, we can speak a little bit about how security will be handled on site, and then we can also speak a little bit about what, like, the enhanced services, for example, will be around the site.
Well, that's what my question is.
For around
About the security. I mean, I know you're gonna have your site controlled, and the people that come in are gonna be screened and tracked, and there'll be rules and so forth, but the people that are currently on the street that are not on the site, are they gonna be, if they're clustered around the site for one reason or another, whether you're gonna consider it part of your problem to manage the overflow or the peripheral things. I don't know whether that'll happen, whether people on the street will stay away from the site because it's so controlled, or whether they're there, and if they're there, then it's a problem for the residents. Because we don't have enhanced security in our houses, which is single-family homes and apartment buildings.
And before you answer, everybody here has been approached by drug dealers. Everybody here has seen the assaults.
I have not.
Oh, you want some videos? Because I got some crazy good videos from inside Venice Community Housing. It's cracking off daily.
Anybody who lives near Sunset, and anybody who lives near Hampton and 3rd Street sees the drug usage. We find the needles, and we've just been recently approached by drug dealers. We see all the violence on next door. We see all the violence on Citizen. We have neighbors who've been assaulted. So I think we can just all just say what's going on here, and it's getting a lot worse. So all of us are very concerned, to say the least, and we want to know how this area is going to do exactly what Vaughn has said, which is clean up all these encampments.
And I've got experience with being in shelters before through Pathway. Y'all security at every other site that I've been around or any other facility, and what happens to the community right outside that little border is gnarly. Because you guys do not you cannot spiral out, so that is going to be an issue, period. So it'd be important for people to understand where that boundary is going to lie. Because we know what's going to happen. That's where everybody parks, right on the other side of the street. I've been at another one of your guys' facility. The rule was no drug use on facility. So literally people would be spinning bowls of meth, talking to security through the fence.
Well,
so, you know.
It's important to really emphasize that this project is unlike any of the other shelter projects. I think I hear the concerns around security and lived experience and what you've seen. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being here. Definitely. But This project comes with a set of guidelines specifically agreed to by the council districts by Mike Bonin to ensure that some of the problems that we've seen in other shelters don't happen.
Two
Specifically,
questions
like
from that.
enhanced
One is,
enforcement. So
when did you get to see those guidelines? And two, the Schrader hotel or whatever it's called, Bridge Hill. I had a neighbor drove by that right before the LA Times article was written, where the LA Times called it a street gang outside of that Schrader hotel. I can send everybody the article. Before that, he said he was going to drive by and take pictures. There were people, he was worried about people throwing bottles at his car as he drove by. I guess it did get cleaned up, probably because of the LA Times article. I haven't been over there in a month. A few weeks later, somebody drove by and said it was clean, but
well, I mean,
were their rules the same as what's going to be in the MTA?
Yeah, I think I worked on that project specifically, so I remember what it looked like before the shelter went up and before the enhanced enforcement came up, and was able to more regularly service the area and really bring the enhanced services that are now part of care, which include regular weekly BOS cleanups, meaning that the Bureau of Sanitation trucks go out there to clean, along with what we call HOPE LAPD officers, and really it builds up like a weekly schedule going out to circumference around the area, about like a 2-block radius in each way, which will really like help us deter and really clean up some of the stuff that you're seeing, especially with like if there's any hazardous waste, anything.
It pushes it out, so now they're too blocked.
Just to that comment, this was on November 13th. Just drove by, didn't get any good pictures, but I had bottles thrown at me as I watched me take pictures. At least 15 people were camped out in front of the Schrader Center.
At the Venice joint right there on Warren and Lincoln, in the last 2 months, I've had it cited twice for them finding encampments on a Section 8 HACLA already. This is the housing that you guys are gold out for in the long run anyway. So, yeah, I mean, I know that, as a matter of fact, this place, it went down to planning with Venice Community Housing. You guys got some serious issues with them, because how are you guys going to even try and, like how is it, it's just, yeah, I don't know.
So if we could get some specifics.
Yeah,
that's
what I wanted to
Yeah.
And this has been evolving. I know Travis, you and I have spoken on this, and since the last time we spoke, I had more details, so I can share that now.
That's fine.
No, so I'm glad that you came out so we can talk on this a little bit more in the details of it. So as Jose was alluding to, we know that with every bridge home, as part of the agreement for a neighborhood having a bridge home in your area, we bring in then the special enforcement and cleaning zone, the SECZ. It's kind of doesn't quite roll off the tongue, but that's what we've been calling these enhanced services, is what we've been talking about. And so with this zone, there are 3 key components to it. Within the zone, you will see enhanced public safety, enhanced public health, and an increase in outreach services. And so what does that look like? With enhanced public safety, what that means is that there is a dedicated footbeat detail that LAPD provides. And that is a basic car that will be patrolling within the zone 24/7. So we have that additional LAPD service provided to this area beyond the LAPD presence we already have in Venice. The second piece,
Which is not.
Yeah, I mean, we got more LAX cops than LAPD, but you know.
This is a conversation that we know we've been struggling with how the community feels about LAPD's presence in Venice, that it hasn't felt sufficient.
Yeah.
And
Well, and the other thing that I've talked to you about this is when we talk to the police and they say, our hands are tied, there's nothing we can do, and we report it to you guys, the first thing is, well, what's the officer's name? What I can tell you is, it's every officer I've talked to. It's quite literally, I can't give you a name, because it's any officer I ask, well, what's going on? Our hands are tied. Even the senior lead officer said, our hands are tied.
Well, so we do have now a senior lead officer who's just identified. November 24th is when she started, Monique Contreras.
Okay.
She's our new senior lead officer. Yes, everyone I've spoken to who's worked with her before says she's wonderful. And she also has a lot of experience working with homeless populations and what that means for the neighborhood as well. So I'm having a meeting set up with her as soon as we can, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, to really kind of touch base and get her up to speed on the Abridge home and what have been some of these conversations that we've been facing. So that touches this first point.
Okay.
The second point, right, is within the zone, we have the increased public health. And that comes around with what Jose was mentioning with the cleaning teams that come out. So within the zone, 4 days a week, there will be the care team, which is the LA sanitation team that goes around and does the spot cleaning, the bulky item pickup, the garbage removal. They are going to go throughout this area around the Bridge Home for 4 days every morning. And then on the 5th day is when we have our Care Plus team, which provides the comprehensive cleanup, which is when you see that the notification is given to an encampment to collect their items, to move them, the deep cleaning happens for that area.
Well, so can I just jump in on that the encampment thing? Because when this thing started, one of the reasons they said that was going to happen was we'd be able to clean up the encampments. It says here in your first paragraph that you'd be able to clean up the encampments. I've talked to you, and I do appreciate that you take the time to come and meet with the residents and talk to us. I appreciate that. But you've even said, based on the Boise lawsuit, that you can't do that you can't enforce it. So if you can't enforce it, then why are we still promising that it's going to happen? Because look, we all think that people that want help should be able to get help. If there's 100 people out there that are homeless that want to get into bridge housing and want to be helped, and the kids, 54 of them that want help, but our experience in the neighborhood is they don't want help. Most
My
of them
experience in their
look at you
building.
like, I mean, my fiance was trying to videotape some stuff, just, got through a bottle at her. She stopped at Hampton and Sunset on the window, want to buy drugs. Like, I don't let her walk the dog at night because it's not safe around there. And from what I'm hearing from your experience, it's going to get worse, not
It's
better.
what- it's
and yet
not-
I promise it's going to get better. I have one neighbor who has had 5 people. He's trying to sell his place. He's right on Main Street. He said, I've had 5 people that were interested in buying, and when they found out about the bridge home, they said it's a deal breaker.
Yep.
He can't sell his home. And he said, well, they throw around the NIMBY phrase. But I guarantee you, if your home value was going down, or you were stuck in the home and couldn't sell it because no one will buy it, you'd be a NIMBY too. It changes your perspective on it when you feel like you can't walk out the neighborhood at night, or your value is going down. I just paid my property tax bill. I didn't see a discount on there for living in a homeless encampment area.
And here's the worst thing about that. No, to speak on that exact point, what ends up happening with all of Venice Community Housings, because they're a non-for-profit, I'm in a 13-unit building that's got already 2 found and located illegal commercial spaces. One's Venice Community's new office that they snuck over there to get that 14 mil for the Rose development. Yeah, that one's tagged with LADBS. I'll give you the record for that one also. They pay $875 a year in taxes. Do you know how much services my building commands from the city? How much do you pay? Right? For 13 units and 2 illegal commercial units. They got found for, so that's Venice Community has a whole bunch because they're involved with SPY on the back end. So this is who does a lot of this management. In my building, one of the first days I got there, I opened up my security gate. Someone doesn't even know me, looks over me. Who are you? Tell him my name, comes over to me. You want meth? You want oxy? Into my camera. I've been attacked so many times in my building. Literally, I've been charged and pressed with a case for attempted murder. And guess what, sweetheart? It's not on your crime maps. Do you understand what's happening with your crime maps? Because we're seeing the LAPD crime maps, and we're not seeing all the crimes in Venice. Now, that's a big deal, because that's going to happen. What's going to happen at Bridge, you guys bring in Frank Shin and the LAX cops, so they're not actually LAPD employees, so it doesn't appear on the map. And none of my attacks have showed up on the map.
I'm never going to get a chance to get my questions out.
I'm sure it's not. You're more than welcome to. Go ahead, sweetheart. Bart.
Lower the temperature a little bit. I mean, everyone's got valid concerns.
You know what I mean? I got attempted murder charges and people coming at me with knives in my building. Yeah, I'm going to speak on it.
Every time we've addressed something that's been on this list of things to do, we're like, yeah, it's not really quite like that. I know Mike promised it, but it's not like that. 3 years, I went down to the Coastal Commission meeting. It's 3 years with the right to renew. It's not 3 years and done. It's 3 years and then you can go month to month and continue to renew. So there's really no promise of it ending. So I think why we're so upset is we keep given promises that either later said we can't do, or we know just based on these other agreements can't be done.
We're just getting jargon.
The encampments, if they would just address the Jones settlement down before 6 a.m., nothing up before 9 a.m., everything into a 60-gallon drum. No one's enforcing that. Like, if that was enforced, we wouldn't have it. It wouldn't be as easy to just say, fuck it, I'll just leave my shit here all week. And the cleanups don't help. All they do is move the stuff to the next corner. Cleanup comes, they take all the crap they don't want, and they move all the other stuff back. It looks identical an hour later.
So this is, I know
Sorry,
this is the current.
I'm getting fired up over because I live in it every day.
Yep.
We've engaged in this a few times,
Yeah.
so I understand exactly where you're coming from on this, and this is something that I know this is so frustrating that this has been an ongoing event, and it's been, we have not seen the improvements, right? But this is part of with the Abridge home, what we're trying to speak to is within the zone around the Abridge home, we can add, and we're adding more in
Right,
order
but
to
will you be able to
address
do
this.
get rid of the encampments like it says in paragraph 1?
And so what we've talked about that is we know that we cannot remove a person from their right to the public
To
domain.
lie, sit, or sleep, not to have a tent and encampment and cook and all the crap.
Well, so going back to when we were discussing about the zone and those components of it, the care teams, they work very hard to get voluntary compliance on 5611, which is exactly what you're mentioning about the personal belongings.
Yeah.
As well as my understanding, what I've been told is that they are working not only for voluntary compliance, but to enforce it. And that the LAPD Foot Beat Patrol will be working towards enforcing that as well within the zone. And I think part of the issues we've been seeing is it's been hard to enforce it for the neighborhood as a whole, but within that zone with that special focus, with that enforcement, it will become very untenable to want to stay within that area when every day you're having a care team and a care plus team come through and do that level of cleanup and enforcement. So that is why the enhanced services are set up the way they are to work towards meeting what we've put out, what the neighborhood is agreeing to and having.
But you said 2 blocks. So what ends up happening is that you end up with the permanent settlements on block 3.
So let me speak
I mean, it's simple. The ones that don't want to keep moving, they go, fuck it, I'll stick it here. And that's what happens. They literally, Lasser's going to walk on the other side of the street. You know it's the truth. You guys can't do nothing across that other side of the street, right? True or false? At the boundary line, I'm talking to Lasser, you know what I'm saying, Pat? Right? So at the boundary line, what happens? If I'm on one side of the street, y'all got that boundary on that other side, and I'm camping on the other side, and I'm doing my thing here. You guys do what?
Well, I think it's important to emphasize that within that area, the enhanced enforcement and the enhanced services are going to be regular there. They're going to be there at least once a day per week, Monday through Friday. And so I think we will see a shift, and we will see that immediate area is immediately affected and hopefully better. So for some of you all who live across the street, I hope that really brings up that meaning.
That's great for them, but what about the people that are block out? And what about the people that are now 2 blocks out in Texas?
The past experiences is that it really does alleviate some of the immediate concerns within those specific boundaries.
Security at the joint that I was at, they straight sell you dope. They arm out dope because you get your check once a month.
Really?
I mean, what you mean it's going to change?
What you guys are experiencing is a
Right.
part of the homelessness crisis, because you guys are seeing what comes by as a side effect of people experiencing homelessness.
Nah, I don't live like that. I've never lived, no, I'm going to say that. I never lived like that. I've never lived like that, and I've been through 2 programs now. I've never lived like that. I've never subjected other people to the level of burden that is being nurtured, encouraged, and straight sponsored. It's ridiculous. I done did 9 years streets and institution. Never did none of this nonsense. We don't let people live like this inside jail. I don't know why you guys think it's cool in the streets.
I think we might need to have a conversation, you and I, all
No problem.
about what these experiences have been. I just want to bring this back to the focus of this meeting is to talk about the Abridge home and what.
And these are things that the Bridge Home's going to cause and create. And this is the current situation and other ones of past joint.
Thanks. I'll get in touch with you one-on-one.
What is the enforcement zone before we finish up on
I was trying to pull it up. I couldn't.
So, yeah, where we're at with the enforcement zone, I can describe the boundaries for you. So where we're at with that, because we've talked about this a few times, just to give a little context for people who aren't familiar with how the zone gets created, this has been an ongoing process between the council office and the Unified Homelessness Response Center, which is under the mayor's office. And the UHRC, as we shorten them to, they're essentially the command center that then goes about coordinating how the zone will operate. They coordinate with LAPD, LA Sanitation, and the other city departments that are going to be functioning within the area. And so early on, we proposed to them what we feel should be an appropriate zone. They came back and said this is more feasible, and we've been having this conversation based off data from the mayor's office and what we've been hearing from residents and other community partners, such as, for example, the Venice Beach Bid had some input on this as well of how we can best respond to the zone. So where we're at,
Will they be getting any more support from Venice Bid? Because right now they're telling us the cops won't come help them.
Well, so that's where, again, it goes back to when the zone begins with the opening of the Abridge home, we'll have the foot patrol there. And we've been having, I've connected Venice Beach Bid with UHRC to have these really intentional conversations about how they can work in tandem with each other to really kind of just enhance it all. So the boundaries as it's proposed at the moment is Rose Avenue to the north, up to 4th, cuts down Sunset across Hampton, goes around Westminster Elementary, includes Westminster Dog Park, and then down to Speedway. So it creates this kind of polygon shape around. And within that, that's where every morning when the care team comes, they start their day at the Abridge home site, and they're going to run the route to do cleaning all throughout that zone before they then go to any other location within the district.
So Hampton will be
Hampton will be
Sunset
included.
Rose, what about 3rd between Sunset and Rose?
Yes, 3rd and Rose.
And then obviously all the perimeter, Maine, Sunset, Thornton, Pacific, and Dog Park, and what about down to the beach?
It goes down to Speedway, and this was part of in trying to negotiate the boundaries with UHRC, is in order to do that route every morning, they could not include Oceanfront Walk in that route, but that means that Oceanfront Walk though will still receive its weekly cleanups that it gets through the OHS program.
So when
But that's so we can incorporate Hampton and make sure that 3rd and Rose are encompassed in it too.
So you said, so you go up, so start at Speedway, go all the way up Rose, at 4th Street, you turn right, turn right again at Sunset, and then left on Hampton. Then we keep going down to,
Encompass the school.
so that would be just past, below, 2 blocks past Rose.
So I'm sorry, I
And then
don't.
Westminster down to, Westminster down to the, I mean, that's what I'm just looking at. So then Westminster would go down to
Speedway
and then right back to Speedway and Rose.
So these are, the reason why we haven't gone as far as like printing this map and putting it out there publicly is because this is what the final proposal is, but it's being shared with LASA and LAPD in order just to ensure that this is going to be the most feasible route. What we're working towards is coming up with a route that's going to encompass the largest encampments that we have around the Abridge home, as well as still be feasible for those city services to do all that we've promised they'll be doing within that area.
What about nighttime security?
With nighttime, there will be the foot beat patrol that's still going to be, that's 24/7, as well as on site, there's 24/7 security.
So there is outside and inside.
Yeah, going back to your initial question, yes, just that security.
Does that follow that map? The nighttime security, or is it larger?
It's within the and then other elements. Now, all of these services begin when the Abridge home opens.
At day 1 at Bridge Home.
Within the first week or two. Yes, and part of this too, when the zone, when these services begin, the zone is going to be marked with signage in the neighborhood, so you'll see where this zone is located. We've also spoken with UHRC about, okay, if we see movements of encampments outside this zone, what does that mean for the surrounding neighborhood? And that's where we're working. We have this plan in place of how we can be connecting with LAPD or having a care team address those sites after they do the zone area. But also further down, later on, 6 months to a year down, we can talk about having that zone expanded or moved in order to encompass whatever possible new hotspots there might be.
So based on the outreach you guys have been doing between the encampments on Hampton between Rose and Sunset, and the encampments on Third between Rose and Sunset, how many of those people have said, love it, can't wait till February to move in there? And how many have said, piss off, we have no interest in this one?
So the conversations haven't really happened like that. So I don't know what St. Joseph's, what your outreach is.
So you have some sense of what the resistance is or what the acceptance level is.
So what we're saying is working slightly differently with the youth that we work with, because the youth all tend to come here, and they've all expressed a desire to house.
Right.
So now they're in our housing case management team, and we've put lists together based on those youth who have expressed an interest in housing. And I know that when you're working with more of the folks in the street encampment, the youth that we tend to work with, there's a mix. Some are involved in encampments, but the vast majority are even homeless, and you wouldn't even know where they were in Venice. So I don't know, how are you engaging with the street-based folks so far?
Yeah, the team's about their day, not daily, but their presence is there on a regular basis, and then like any other like service is all voluntary. And then right now we're working on messaging that this is a base site. It's not a typical shelter. It's like it's a brand new concept. So hopefully we'll bite to that.
Yeah.
And also it's low barriers. So with that being said, the teams are working religiously on getting everybody in the area.
So by now they have some feel of response.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. It's positive. Right now it's positive. I say that. It's positive.
Like I said, I really love it if the people that want to help can help. But the people that are just like, oh, you got a right to camp here. Sorry, it's not a right to camp here. People live here. It's
Surprised when
sorry, I got a little aggressive.
when youth in the community have an opportunity to have crisis housing, you'll be surprised how many taken. We've been asked to put a list of 54 together, and then a list of.
I mean, I hope.
Okay, sorry to interrupt. She's been so patient over here. She's been raising her hand. She's got some hand.
Couple questions. What constitutes youth? 21 and under?
No, it's 18 to 24.
So like,
What is the largest Bridge City, like housing or homeless shelter that has been done in the Los Angeles County?
There's two 100-bed sites in South Central, one off of Gage and St. Andrews, and the other one off of 105th and Imperial. Those are the two.
100 bed is the largest that Los Angeles County's ever done. Are they all under one roof, much like the tent that's going up?
108 seconds.
100. So this will be the largest first time ever attempt to mix both men and women on site and youth?
No, youth are in a separate section.
They're in a separate.
Yeah.
So it's men, women, and then youth are in a separate area.
Trailers, yeah. Youth will be in
So
separate
24,
trailers.
you said?
So there are women in there?
Are drugs testing available on the site for people then?
Nope.
Since they're offering them
So
food,
it's-
clothing, and shelter and rehabilitation, do
So
they have
it's
to
low
test
barriers,
everything?
so there's no clean testing. It's not a sober living where you're required to test. So we encourage people not to use and to get involved in outpatient programs, which could test, but it would not happen on site.
Yeah, I think I want to emphasize what's going to happen after the shelter opens, and like there's a prioritization once the initial cohort goes, and under the mayor's directive and the council district, we built a prioritization to really prioritize people who are matched to a resource, and I won't go into the weeds about what that means, but essentially they have a more steady pipeline to housing. And so we're looking to prioritize those people that have the ability to come in, be a light touch model, meaning that they'll be there for a little bit and then really get to that ultimate housing goal. So we really want this to be a place where people come in, they're able to rehabilitate not just from like drug use, but really from the traumatic experience of living on the street and be able to then go into housing. And I think that's all what we're really here for, because like I think ultimately if there wasn't a homeless crisis, then you guys wouldn't be experiencing the things that you guys are experiencing, and we wouldn't all be here. But I think really your interest in your community shows an interest in the larger community, and I think our neighbors on the street are part of that, and we really want to help them.
Path has other shelters though besides Bridge, correct?
Yes.
And how large are the largest of those that you manage, just to clarify, so that we have some idea of the scale that you've managed?
So we have 200-bed site in Santa Barbara and a 150-bed site in San Diego.
Okay.
I was just going to say, I think one of the things that from opening a variety of sites over the years, I would think of it also as a resource for more eyes and ears, and I know you might not see that now, but between our two agencies, we're going to have over 25 staff coming in and out of that site every day. And there's a lot of ownership over the site, right? This is work that, if you're not passionate about this work, you don't stay very long. So these people are going to, these staff that we have are going to be part of your community too. Our security team is going to be part of your community, and they're going to have a direct line to LAPD's foot patrol, which I think actually, I understand the concern around the enforcement, and there's pros and cons around it. I know there's concerns around if it moves across the street. So we will kind of have to talk through all of that and really look at what's happening in the community. But I think this direct line to LAPD is one of the biggest benefits, because it's not just, we'll have it, we'll be using it for the folks inside, but our team will know everybody else who's out there as well. And so that LAPD team becomes part of our community. And I was actually giving a tour last week, and they're really checking in. They're checking in with the neighbors. One of our sites is right by a park, and so they're walking over there. They're checking to make sure everything's going okay. So I think, these folks are experiencing homelessness already. They're already our neighbors, as Jose said. So let's bring them inside, give them the resources they need, and then let's build the support for the neighborhood so that we're not in the same crisis. And if we still continue to see it, you all are really good vocal advocates for what else is needed, right? And there's going to continue to be forums to have these discussions so that we can see, what's really happening, and we can try to augment if it's not the right.
But isn't that kind of scary to go, let's go ahead and just leap into what's already been proven has some issues, and we have no program.
It's not that it has issues. I think what it is that we're dealing with human
It has
and
issues.
There's issues happening now.
How much is this costing the taxpayers?
So I actually don't know how much it costs to build a site, because we're not part of the building.
So we have the construction costs, and then we have the operation costs.
Right.
And keep in mind, this is for the entirety of the 3 years. If I'm remembering it off the top of my head properly, the construction costs are around $8.5 million. I know. And then we have
It's
the
a lot less than the cost right now for people using
It's so inflated because we did LAX Construction Company unbidded. That's insane.
I know it's startling when you hear that amount, and just this last week I was trying to crunch the numbers on it too, and what it comes out to though is when you're thinking about it, you break it down by per bed and per person that we're going to have in there, it's a few $1,000s per person per month. And it's less than what the average Angelino is paying for, and it's also significantly less than what we pay to have somebody in jail in LA County. And
We don't keep people in jail.
So I know it's so startling when you hear that price cost, but this was seen as the abridged home, and the type of model that we're going for is a proven model for how effective it can be at providing that full support service for the clients that come on site, to get them stable and to get them to be able to successfully move into a housing outside of that. Yeah. And the purpose for the abridged homes being temporary, being a 3-year initiative through the mayor's office, is that this is our stopgap while we're working towards building more permanent housing. Permanent supportive, affordable, just more housing in general, because we're also facing a housing crisis on top of this homelessness crisis.
How can you get people?
I live paycheck to paycheck, working 2 jobs. I'm a former foster child, put myself through college. I don't want to relocate. I don't want to be in this vortex where it is. I'm scared.
Rightly.
Having been in the system and seeing and getting out of it successfully.
Right.
Is there my legal rights as far as what I can do to move? Because I've tried to get out of my lease. I've tried several different things until September 2020.
Wow.
So I've had attempted break-ins, single woman living on a bottom floor unit, and I don't feel safe.
Let's chat about that outside of this meeting, but I want to connect you with HSID, which might be able to help you with whatever your rights are.
What my rights are, yeah.
Yes. HSID is the city department that would oversee tenant rights. If you want support.
Also, before you had talked to me about, Venice has always had a homeless issue, and I had mentioned to you that it did, and the Venice residents have always been very tolerant and I don't know about you, but, you know, I have a lot of these guys out there that I talk to, that I'm friends with, that I hang out with, you know, down on the boardwalk. Yeah, you know, but, I mean, we know each other. I'm not inviting him into that party in my place or anything, but, you know, I mean, I'm friendly with him, I know him.
Yeah.
It's changed ever since 47 and 58, or whatever those props were, where it was lowering
109.
heroin, meth, and cocaine to 3 grams as a misdemeanor, and also the early prison release, and a lot of those people were drug issues. So the vibe of who's out there has changed. It didn't used to feel dangerous, you know, but there's more break-ins. I mean, when you see 20 bikes and some guys at encampment in various stages of disassembly, it's a chop shop. He's stealing that from neighbors. You know, so you're getting people breaking into your garage, you're getting people breaking into your home, you're getting people breaking into her home. The dynamic around it is different. You know, if you guys had come in with this idea before those propositions got passed, I think the vibe would have been different. But because it's changed so much, it does feel a lot different out there. You know, I've been in Venice for 10 years. I was in Santa Monica for 20 years before that. And, you know, we used to go feed the homeless and stuff. They were all just very, you know, just normal people that were down on their luck. Now you're getting people, most of the people I talk to aren't even from here. Where'd you come from? Tennessee. Why? Because I could hang out here and I could do drugs, you know.
I mean, St. Joseph's brought me from West LA.
But if you're living in a
Straight
place
up.
where heroin or meth is a felony, and you can come here and live at the beach where it's a misdemeanor that they aren't even enforcing, that sounds pretty good. So they're coming here, and you say, okay, well, 10,000 units to build is the goal. And the homeless count is 60,000. So you're never going to have enough units to say we have enough units to enforce the laws.
And how can you
Because
stabilize
they're
people
coming here
without
faster
drug
than you can
testing?
build it. So, like, we're on your side. We want this to work, but we also want to see what's the long-term solution to make it actually work for the whole thing, because it just seems like they're coming faster and they're bringing more problems than they ever used to have here.
And it sounds like jargon. The supportive care housing is a title that's completely misappropriate. Everybody assumes that that means you actually are providing services and programs for these people, as opposed to it being a term for housing. And again, how are you going to stabilize people if you don't require them to not be on drugs? What about like the tiniest bit of exchange to have a bed? Because I know that for me, for 9 years, for the opportunity to have had that, no problem, I'd have pissed. No problem all day. I'd have done way more than that. Instead, I got dragged over here through St. Joseph's on a weird trip. But really, how are you going to stabilize people without going, you know what, hey, for a bed, we're going to test? Like, that's the most basic return that you could ask from anybody. That's just retarded.
Drugs has caused this problem.
I don't have the right to go and use methamphetamine and expect that I'm going to have a bed somewhere. That's a simple exchange. You guys want to try and give them a pass on weed? Well, they still don't get their federal payments that don't work. But regardless, how come they don't have to do some form of exchange at all so that they have some concern and return and care for this? Hey, you know what? Hey, you can actually ask one too. But I know that you don't like my question and it don't matter. So I'm going to go ahead and go with that.
So I think a lot of folks have other questions.
And then you can interject at any point. Don't sit here and argue with me. I'm not talking to you.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm telling you
Stop. You're not doing yourself justice.
Please.
So guys,
We're gonna let Jennifer
We
speak
may
to
not
this,
agree,
and then
we may
we'll
not all
go
agree with the policies, but the evidence-based practices, which means national standards, show that when you test, you don't have success. And so...
Right, because people flunk out.
Probably,
It seems insane that you have to be clean before you can get in. But at this point, though, if you are on drugs and you're able to get in, there should at least when you're in there be some program. And maybe
It's not insane to have an exchange to go, fuck a bed, I have a chance.
if you get to the point of say, okay, you've got whatever the normal time span is, you've got 3 months, you've got 6 months to get clean, and then we'll start testing you. But the idea that you could just live there and go out on the street and do drugs and not have any kind of way to answer to it.
there are still repercussions from that. It's just not the old school, like, let me just kick you back out to your neighborhood and be
Yeah, no,
on
I
your
agree
front
that-
lawn.
yeah, you gotta
The
work
idea is
with that. I
let's give
agree
you
with that.
services. So if you are trying to be clean and you relapse, there's not that same level of threat.
Yeah.
And so what we actually see is that people are much more successful in getting clean on their
Yeah.
own terms with the supportive services that we provide.
Yeah, because it does seem insane that you have to be sober before getting
But also,
in.
and I want to be able to answer some of the questions from the quieter that we haven't heard from yet, but I want to add to that too.
in addition to what PATH and SPY are able to provide on site through the services that they do, we are working with identifying other partners that are within Venice that can be able to provide like 12-step programming, or that if we need detox services, we'll be able to connect with their matrix. We're identifying those other organizations and programs that are out there that we would then be able to refer clients to and to be able to work more intentionally with. But
and doing enforcement around the area so it's not so easy to just walk down to the corner and get some crack.
Right, yes, that goes in with anything else that we have. So that I haven't heard anything from Lisa again. I know you're raising your hand, and then we'll, sir, I'm sorry, your name again? Sandy. We'll get Sandy, and then Travis will set your hand up. Does that sound fair? We'll start with Lisa.
I want to go back to who's getting in. I want to ask specifically, how do people get in? Because I look down among the people on Third almost daily, never being offered drugs. But they're coming to me and asking, hey, that housing going up. How do you know? How do you get in? So if somebody asks me that, who do I go? Is St. Joseph Center the gateway specifically? Or
it's geographically specific, so the people who are in and around the space will be put on a list. And
well, that's what I'm saying. But no, someone comes to me and they say, how do we do this? Do I send them and say, go talk to the St. Joseph Center? Or if they're under, where do I go? What is the process? And I know that they get on a list and everything, but what is the specifics? How does it work? Do they go to the PATH office off Pico?
He's going to tell us right now.
So one of the guidelines to this whole project, and it's not just for Venice, it's for all the bridge home sites, is that there's a catchment area. That means that there's a geographical area within the council district that people are eligible to come in. Other than the TAY youth, which are coming to this site, anyone that's older than 24 can get access by getting access to one of the outreach teams. The reason we do that is to guarantee that people are literally homeless within the catchment area, so that people from Venice and the areas.
Okay, so these are specific people who are unhoused in that area. You see them every day there on Third. Do they have to just see a roaming person from the St. Joseph Center? Or can they walk over to the St. Joseph Center and say, I'd like to get on to the bridge?
Requests, if you know the people, you can do that through outreaching to Ruben or through Ellie Hop. But definitely, like, I'd be surprised if they're on Third Rows and someone hasn't engaged them or tried to engage them.
Yeah, but when I've seen Ruben, and you guys come real early, and my experience is they're late sleepers out there.
The intonation.
So
this is where it came from, for real.
Yeah, but I really want to know the specifics of how people get there. How do they, I know they just can't walk up to the door, but how, can they?
I got farmed here from West LA to Santa Monica to Venice because, well, I was a valuable client.
Would like to know these
we could put in an outreach request.
Could she call Ruben and say, hey Ruben, I got these people that want to get in, can you meet them out here at 12 o'clock tomorrow?
Yeah.
Boom. She goes back to her people and says, Ruben will be here tomorrow at 12.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's gotta be that easy.
Or also,
It should be.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I asked myself too.
You shouldn't have to hopefully see Ruben. No.
And another way too is to use the LA Hop tool, the lahop.org, which is where you can put in a service request. So especially if you know somebody specifically who is interested in the Abridge home, I've been told you can put in through one of the service requests, but type in specifically like this person wants to ask about the Abridge home. That is one of your, la-hop.org. And that's the portal for putting in for outreach services. And there will be fields in there where you can identify more about the person, what their needs are, as well as you can put in there a note about they specifically asked about the Abridge home, so the outreach worker knows.
And then what are the requirements to get in there? I mean, do they have to be ticket free? Do they have to?
That they be within Venice.
Homeless and
Well, I mean, other than the obvious, they're without.
They don't have to be in Venice. Someone has to sign and say they're in
Because I've heard
Venice,
things
like
if they have
happened
tickets,
here.
these are rumors that come out on the street. If they've got a ticket, they can't get in.
That's not true.
No, yeah, that's not true.
And that's part of this being a low barrier entry site. This is
I'm just, you know how rumors spread.
I just want to
You will say,
we've labored really intensely to ensure. I just want to say that we've labored really intensely to make sure that only people from within Venice, and specifically within the priority zone, which is Burton Rose and close to the boardwalk, have first access to this, to make sure that some of the weight that's felt by this crisis is alleviated.
Is there any requirement where you had to be here in that encampment for 2 years, or can you just have
Outreach needs to know you.
Minneapolis and said, I'm gonna camp out on Third and get into a bridge home? I mean,
That should be,
Because it should
the
be-
data from the last count showed that the overwhelming majority of folks were not from out of state, that the vast majority were from LA County.
Just to add to
That's
that,
not what we're talking about.
I got video, we've got video.
I specifically was brought from West LA,
I know we
like
Sandy
straight up.
had a question. Do you want to ask that?
Yeah, is there going to be a central person that the neighbors can contact on your site? Because this is, I wish you all the best of luck. I know this is a bold experiment and I hope it works. But the odds are there's going to be a lot of ups and downs and a lot of, issues. And that you're going to need to have a good coordination with the neighborhood. Probably more coordination with the residents around the neighborhood would have been called for, but for whatever reason, and I did not participate in all of the objections to the site, but you need to have a better articulation with the residents. If I have a problem and I've had an increase in intruders in my house is not barricaded. It's easy to come in the front gate and we don't keep it locked. The mailman comes and goes. And so we are unprotected. And if we have an increase or more violent people than we've had in the past, I'm going to need to be able to contact someone on this site to have a dedicated patrol come out immediately. That's going to be the only recourse that I have for enhanced issues. So if you don't have set up sort of a central place where the neighbors can call when they have an issue, with no matter what your
You still use 911.
I don't want to call LAPD.
We need to talk about that then, because the site can't be responsible for 911.
Well, then you guys shouldn't have the site.
No,
You got
I'm not
emergencies
talking about
bursting.
911. I'm
But
talking.
if there's trespassing, that's.
It
So-
takes
so
30
there is an issue.
It's ingrained. It's embedded. The problem's straight embedded.
We have to tell your patrol that we have an issue